Hello and welcome to the transcription explanation of these designs. There's a whole bunch of them. They're for a streamer friend of mine, Vampycat, which I have Vampy's Twitch linked in the description of this video. And I'm going to be reading through some of these epic Vampy phrases and descriptions, as well as a little icon for Vampycat, her username. So let's go ahead and start with that simple one up at the top, and I will be using this grid shown above me to point out the letters, because in this grid there are different rows and there are different columns, and the rows are made of these 4 different letter stems. There's deep divots like a horseshoe, there's floating circles inside our word circle, and there's shallow divots like somebody took a bite out of a cookie. And on the bottom row down here there is a circle that crosses the line of the word circle. And then vowels are these little guys down here. I'll go through examples of those in just a second. But to make the different columns, you add either line modifiers or dots. So let's go ahead and zoom in on this username here. So this shape is a start marker. Typically you start reading at the bottom and you go counterclockwise, like a time traveler going back in time. But in this design, I indicate that there's a little start marker here to start reading this way. And you read starting at the bottom, going counterclockwise, or the start marker going counterclockwise, and you can spiral inwards. And this one does that. I have a little secondary word inside. In fact, we have vampy around the outside, and then cat on the inside, and this gives it that kind of little cat ear look, which is what I was going for in the design. So, start marker, shallow divot. So we're in the 3rd row and there is 1 line on it, so that's the last column. So that makes the letter V. An A is a little guy vowel positioned outside our word circle, and then 1, 2, 3 lines on the M, and then continuing around we have our next letter. It's like the M but only with 2 lines, so that's P. And then a Y crosses the line of our word circle with 2 dots, so that would be vampy in that circle. And in this circle, again starting at the start marker or at the bottom because this one works out that way, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dots on this floating circle, and then this A again is positioned outside this little word circle. I wanted to make the A actually touching this inner word circle line, so that way it looks more like it's part of this word instead of being an O inside this word. So that was something visually added to help with the legibility of it. And then the last little letter is this shallow divot T, so that would be Vampy Cat. Okay, so let's get to some of these more exciting designs. We'll go to this one. So we have another little start marker here, and it leads into this letter. This letter is a horseshoe shape with 1 line on it, making it a G, and then we have a U with a line going outwards, an A outside the word circle, R, shallow divot 3 dots, another A, an N with 1 line on it, a T, shallow divot with no modifiers, and then we have a double circle. A double circle is a double letter, and this double letter is a double vowel, and it's a double E, so that's a T double E, and then our last letter here is a D, deep divot with 3 dots. So Guarantee, guaranteed, which is a word that I didn't know how to spell in regular letters when I first made this, so I had a typo in my first design. I tried to do Gaurenteed because it sounds like guaranteed, but no, it's guaranteed. What even is that? Why does it say guaranteed when it's spelled guaranteed? I don't know. But anyway, guaranteed.
English
And
is
then
stupid.
a little space here between our word circles. Also, I'm recording this with a little bit of an audience. You're welcome to say hi if you like. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to this next little word here in the gap. We have a shallow divot, this little shape here, and it has no dots or lines because it's the letter T, and then our O is positioned inside the word circle. Then we have 2 stacked letters here. So similar to a double letter, which is 2 letters that are the same thickness stacked, this double letter is 2 different letters because there's 2 different line thicknesses. And when there's 2 different letters, you read thin to thick. So this thin one here has 1, 2, 3 lines on it, so that's an S. And this thick one has 2 lines on it, so that's a W. Then we have our E centered. Then our A is positioned outside the word circle, an R with 3 dots, just like this R over here. So, to swear. And then this little word, it's just its own little word inside this little gap of the word circle, is the word just an A there. So, swear Then 3 dots for this letter, so that's the L. And our O is internal. So, vowels confuse a lot of people, especially the O's and E's, because an O is typically inside our word circle like this. And people will often see this as, oh, an O is off the line. But an O can be on the line of a consonant. The point being, an E is centered. So if an E is centered right here, here's an E, centered on our word circle, it's on the line of the word circle. But if an E is centered on a consonant, it's inside the middle of that consonant. Where an O, when it's internal, inside, it is floating inside our word circle, but if it's internal on the consonant, it's on the line of the consonant stem. So that's something that trips a lot of people off. So this is an L, O, and then a T. So guaranteed to swear a lot. This is a fun, fancy little letter shape here. This is the and sign, like an ampersand. And it's in a special little section of the rules and the diacritics kind of at the end of Sherman's Guide. But this is how you do an and symbol in Gallifreyan. So says Lauren. So that's what we do. Yes, nowadays it looks like it could be a slashed E, but that's the and sign. It is. Just go with it. It's not a little guy dragging its butt on the ground, which if you haven't looked at an and symbol and not seen that it's a little guy dragging his butt on the ground, you should look at an and sign in a couple different fonts until you can see the little guy dragging his butt on the ground. Okay, so here we have the word cry, and there's a lot of dots happening here. We're going to zoom in extra fine so you can really see what I'm talking about. So, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total dots, and we have to figure out where these dots go. And the rule for dots is dots count on the letter that they are closest to, assuming that letter doesn't already have any lines on it. So this is our first letter. So these dots are all closer to this letter than to this letter, because, you know, this is positioned here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 dots closest to this one, where there's 1, 2, 3 dots closest to this one, and then 1, 2 dots closest to this one. So 4 dots on the floating circle, so that would be a C. 3 dots on the shallow divot, so that's an R, and then 2 dots on the crossing circle, so that's a Y. So that's that's the word cry, or at least my logic for it anyway. That's why it technically says cry, even though it's like, where do all the dots go? And the reason I did that is to, you know, keep it visually looking like the other ones, and also because I had to fit 4 frickin' dots for the letter C, which I could have done a letter K, but I did a letter C in the word cat, and I wanted to be consistent with my C swapping and not C swapping. Because in the original script there was no letter C, so to write the letter C in like circles, the C-I-R-C-L-E-S, you wouldn't write C-I-R-C-L-E-S, you'd write S-I-R-K-L-E-S, because the letter C is dumb, and you shouldn't use it. Except I guess I did, because there was a name involving a C, and then I wanted to be consistent, and now I just mostly use the letter C. I guess my internal debates on if to C or not to C, the C has won. The C has found a place in my heart. Let's go. Don't tell Macaco. So now we have the next little word here, and it's a little guy outside our word circle, so there's an A, and a shallow divot with no modifier, so a T, so at. This is an E. We talked about them before. Shallow divot, one line is a V, E centered. Here's another fun little set of dots. 1, 2, 3 dots closest to that R, but this Y has 2 dots. TH has no lines or dots on it. Lines that pass through letters don't count. I line going inwards. And then this NG crosses with 3 lines. So, again, E, V, E, R, Y, TH, I, NG, everything. So that says everything. So this whole bit says guaranteed to swear a lot and cry at everything. Yippee. It's a good motto, I guess. And then this is another style where instead of having the words unraveled like this one, I have them wrapped up into little word circles. And let's go ahead and read them. This is a long word. It says unapologetically, so bear with me. We have a little guy with a line going outward, so that's a U. N, 1 line on it. A, outside the word circle, 2 lines on the P, O, internal, L, 3 dots, O, inside, G, 1 line, E, centered, T, no mods, I, line going inwards, C with the 4 dots, it's another 4 dot C because I'm being consistent. Consistency, yay, with a C. It's not consistency with a K, even though I'd very much like it to be consistency with a K. Oh, we've already talked about the C debate. Okay, so C, and then this is another double letter with 1, 2, 3 dots, that's the double L, and then our Y with 2 dots. So there's unapologetically. And then we have a deep divot, so top row with 3 lines. F, E, centered, 1, 2, 3 lines on the M. I line going inwards. Yes, this is going inwards because if we look opposite, that would be going outwards. And if we like make a concentric circle with our little brains, if there's a concentric circle cutting through the center of that vowel, if it's coming out on the inside side, it's an I. If it's coming out on the outside side, it's a U. And this is an I. And then we have this circle with 1 line on it, so it's an N. I, line going inwards, another N, and then an E. So F-E-M-I-N-I-N-E. Feminine, feminine. But feminine, it's got the word 9 in it, yippee. And then this shallow divot has 1 dot, so it's a W-H. I, line going inwards, L, 3 dots, E, centered, so while. Here's another stacked set of 2 different consonants. We have a P with 2 lines, L centered, 3 dots. Well, the dots being centered doesn't matter, just that this one in the middle with the thicker line has 3 dots, and you read then fix those, P and then an L. And the A is outside the word circle. Y has 2 dots. I has a line going inwards, and then there's 1, 2, 3 lines on this NG. And yes, NG can be done as 1 letter. It says so in the grid. So, playing. Here's a TH crossing the word circle. E, so the. 1, 2, 3 lines on the M, O internal, 3 lines on the S. Yes, this curvy line counts for 2 separate lines because it ends on 2 different places on the letter stem. So there's 3 lines ending on the letter stem, so it's got 3 lines, so it's an S. And then this one has no lines actually ending on it because this one passes through, so that's the T. So M-O-S-T, most. And then we have this word. Its word circle is actually here. This is just an NG. See, it's got 3 lines on a crossing circle, just like this NG. It's just sneaky and filling a lot of space. So we have a deep divot with 2 dots. There's the C-H-A outside the word circle. Then we have a double letter with 3 dots, so that's a double L. This is an I. No, E. Okay, so this is, okay. I just couldn't spell challenging in my head for a second. I did C-H-A-L-L and was confused that it says E, not I. But it should be E-N-G-I-N-G. It's challenging. That's how you spell challenging. C-H-A-L-L-E-N-G-I-N-G. Okay, cool. Because, yeah, here's that NG we talked about with 3 dots, and then an I line going inwards, and then 3 lines on that NG. So, challenging. Games. 1 line on it, A outside the word circle, 1, 2, 3 lines on the M, E centered, S with 3 lines, just like the other S. Deep breath. That's the 3 designs for Vampies. Yippee. I also have done some line works. My plan for using these to make things, I'm going to make a couple prints with these colorful ones, as well as some pendants and charms, cool little thingies like that. And then I am going to engrave a little watch with the front and the back designs with the little kitty cat with vampire wings and teeth and stuff. And then, yeah. Yippee, Vampycat. Cool.